Hey Eagle fans, it's EaglefanKarl. This is going to be my quick check-in prediction preview video for tomorrow afternoon's game against the Atlanta Falcons. And it's no big surprise that when we start talking about the Atlanta Falcons, you've got to start talking about their offense because their offense is very good. They're able to put a lot of points on the board and they're able to move the ball easily. This is evidenced by the fact that they are first in points scored. They're second in the league in total yardage on offense, and that includes being second in the league in passing yardage. They drop down a little bit when you go to rushing yardage, and that they're 10th in rushing yards. But it's clear that Matt Ryan is having a career year, and I think that's really going to impact the way that you sort of have to defend this team. Because if you look at it from that perspective, he is really having a good year. Him and Julio Jones clearly have some good chemistry. He is definitely a threat you've got to concern yourself with. And so going into this game, you've got to understand that their passing offense is very good. Now, the one thing that I did say that their rushing is 10th in the league in rushing yards. But with some of the leads they've had, that actually kind of surprises me that it is on the lower side. That tells me that they don't really establish the run early, because if they were, then that number you would think would be higher. The fact of the matter is they're getting leads on teams and they're rushing at the end of the game to sort of run the clock out. So that's how they're probably getting some rushing yards that maybe they normally wouldn't get. Also, look at the fact they've only had their leading rusher go over 100 yards on the season once this year. So if you look at their rushing attack, I wouldn't be as concerned about their rushing attack. We've got to be worried about their passing attack. So how do we stop their passing attack given the fact that our cornerbacks are pretty weak? I think that's pretty clear. If you look at the way we have been able to beat some teams before with good quarterbacks and good receivers, such as the Steelers, the Vikings, I think it's been when we've been able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think that's what we've got to do in this game. We've got to make sure we are getting pressure on Matt Ryan. And I think that is something that we can do. That's because the Falcons are 26th in the league in sacks surrendered this year. They've given up 22 sacks. And the Eagles, I think, actually have one of the good things that they've got going into this game this week is the fact that Benny Logan should be playing in this game. He's been out the last couple of games, and I think it's shown. With him in the game, they can't just exclusively focus on Fletcher Cox when it comes to blocking in the middle of the line. They've got to give some attention to Benny Logan. Otherwise, he could cause some problems for them. So I think that could potentially free Fletcher Cox up to make some plays, and I think that's really what we need in this game. We need some pressure up the middle, and we need some pressure off the ends, and having a more balanced line, I think, will help in that. Ultimately, another thing I think that's really important when we're looking at this game in terms of stopping their passing attack is making sure that we are moving the ball on offense. If we can keep the ball out of their hands, that's another way to slow down their passing attack. And for that reason, I really think it's important that we try to establish the running game in this game. I know it's going to be tempting for Doug Peterson to look at their secondary, and I'll get to that in a moment. But he could look at their secondary and say, hey, we can pass the ball against this team. But I think one of the ways we've got to beat this team is really by trying to establish a running game. One of the concerns I have, though, with what they've been doing lately is using Darren Sproles more. I think Darren Sproles has been really good for this team, but he is a small guy. He's in his 30s, and I think it's just a matter of time. If they continue to use him the way they're using him, that he's going to get hurt. So I would try and use Ryan Matthews a little more, or Barner a little more, or even Wendell Smallwood a little more, and try and get Sproles out there in those situations where they can really utilize his speed on third down, where they can maybe use a screen pass or something like that. And I think from that perspective, they can really have some success using Sproles. Using him as an every down back, I think, is just asking for him to get hurt, though. One other point on the Falcons offense, I think when you look at their numbers, some of them might be inflated. They've been playing against teams that are sort of towards the bottom of the league in defense. They've only played 3 top 10 defenses this season, and in 2 of those cases, they played on the road. In 1 case, they played at home. That was against the Packers, where they were able to score over 30 points. The other 2 times when they played top 10 defenses on the road, which the Eagles are this year, they are a top 10 defense in terms of yards surrendered. When they played top 10 defenses on the road, which were Denver and Seattle, that was the 2 games this season they have been under 30 points. So I think that when they get out of the comfort of that dome and they're on the road against a good defense, they are a little bit more vulnerable. And I think that is something that could potentially happen going into this game. I think we can sort of try and take advantage of that and really limit how much they're able to be effective with their offense. But like I said, I think one of the 2 main things we need to do to stop their offense, get pressure on Matt Ryan, number 1, and second of all, try and keep their offense off the field by getting long drives with our offense. So what about our offense against their defense? Their defense is, saying average would be nice. They're actually below average in most categories. Overall, they're 26th in yards surrendered, and they're 28th in points surrendered. So they are definitely towards the bottom of the league in how much yardage they're giving up and how many points they're giving up. If you look at the run versus pass breakdown, I think that can be a little misleading because they have been playing with a lot of leads. So their rushing stats actually look really good. They're 7th in the league in rushing defense, and they're 31st in the league in passing defense. But like I said, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that teams at the end of the game, when they're down against this team, they have to throw the ball. Their secondary is weak, though, and their leading cornerback is going to be out this week. So I think we will be able to throw the ball against this team. But like I said, I don't think that Doug Peterson really should get tempted by just trying to throw against this team. I think we need to try and establish a running game against this team because that's the way we're going to be able to keep their offense off the field. And I think we can do that with sort of a running back rotation, not relying too much on any one guy, keeping fresh legs out there, and really trying to pound the ball away on the ground and limit how much time the Falcons have the ball. The other area where they are a little bit towards the top of the league in terms of the defense is in sacks. They're 12th in the league in sacks and having gotten 20 this year. So they have been able to get pressure against the quarterback, but I really think that that is more a factor that they are usually playing with leads. And a team that's playing defense against someone that they know has got to throw the ball to try and catch up, it's very easy for them to get sacks because they can get pressure and not have to worry about the running game. So I think that that number could be a little inflated as well. The key with us, I think, really for this game is going in, is trying to get a lead early and not falling behind. You look at some of the games we've had recently against some of the losses that we've had recently, Detroit, Washington, and then the Giants. In all of those games, we got down early and it became a problem for us to try and catch up. And if we do that against this team, I don't think there's any way we're going to be able to catch up and continue to keep their offense at bay. But if we are able to get a lead and sort of sit on that lead and force them to try and catch up, I think that is a way we can go into this and win this game. One other thing that we need to think about in terms of, we've been talking a lot about the Eagles playing teams coming off the bye, and the Falcons actually, once again, they're not coming off a bye, but they are coming off an extended rest because they're coming off a Thursday night game. But one thing that could sort of work in our favor is this is sort of a weird game for them. They're coming off the extended rest, and then next week they have a bye. So this is sort of a game that's thrown in the middle of a stretch where they're really not playing. So we could sort of maybe catch them off guard because they're sort of looking ahead to the bye and coming off the extended rest. So it's just sort of a weird game for them and their schedule. So it's a possibility that we could really catch them off guard for that reason. And I really think the Eagles have a chance to win this game. On paper, you would say, listen, against this receiving attack, our cornerback should not be able to stop them. But we've shown before when we've been playing against teams where you think the matchups aren't always in our favor, we have a tendency to try to usually step up our game a little bit in those games. And I think that's going to happen here. For that reason, I am going to pick the Eagles to win this game. I think it's one of those games we get a lead and then we end up holding on, that the Falcons end up trying to really make a comeback and get close, but ultimately fall a little short. For that reason, my prediction for the score is going to be Eagles 31, Falcons 27. Leave your comment below. Let me know what you think the score is going to be of the game. Let me know, do you think the Eagles have a chance in this game, or are we just hopeless against this passing attack? If you notice, I'm not wearing an Eagles shirt today. That's because I'm showing a little support for my alma mater. I'm a Villanova alum, and they started their national title defense last night, so hopefully they get off to a good season and get another deep run in the NCAA tournament this year. But as far as the Eagles are concerned, I'll go ahead. I'll check in after the Eagles-Falcons game and let you know what I thought. Hopefully we'll be celebrating a win, getting back over 500 and getting off that 4-4 mark. Until then, fly Eagles fly.